With the new Daredevil season finally here, I wanted to take a look back at one of my favorite Charlie Cox roles that does not get enough credit. Stardust is a 2007 adventure fantasy movie based on the novel of the same name by the talented writer Neil Gaiman. It's directed by the incredible Matthew Vaughn. The story opens on the fictional village of Wall. Wall was shot in Castle Coma, a very real place in England. Wall is named for an unassuming stone wall that separates the town from the larger kingdom of Stormhold. Tristan Thorn, played by Ben Barnes, slips past the guard at the gap in the wall and enters a much larger world, one that's filled with magic. He finds an enslaved woman claiming to be Princess Una, played by Kate McGowan. Dunstan and Una spend the night together before Dunstan has to return to his secluded life in the small town. 9 months later, a baby boy is left on his doorstep. The story then jumps forward 18 years, and that baby boy is now the grown Tristan Thorn, played by Charlie Cox. He's in love with a girl named Victoria, played by Sienna Miller. Victoria's hot, but she's shallow and her personality is just rotten. The two go on something like a date that Victoria is not at all interested in. The two see a falling star that comes down on Earth, or whatever planet this happens to be. Victoria tells Tristan that if he can retrieve that star, she'll marry him. This challenge is made with no thought behind it. Victoria has no intention of marrying Tristan and doesn't think he'll even attempt to go after a star, let alone succeed in recovering it. Tristan doesn't hesitate. He ventures out of Wall through the same gap in the wall that his father took 18 years prior. Making his way to the star is actually not that difficult, but when he finds it, he finds another beautiful woman, Yvain, played by Claire Danes. Things get pretty weird now. Remember, this is fantasy, very high fantasy. Yvain was knocked out of the sky by a magical ruby that was thrown by the dying king of Stormhold, played by Peter O'Toole. The king has 7 sons. I'm not going to sit here and list them all out, but I do want to shout out Septimus. He's pretty much the main son, and he's played by the always awesome Mark Strong. These brothers have no love for each other and will do anything, including killing each other, to secure the throne for themselves. The throne ruby was supposed to choose the successor to stop all the brother-on-brother violence, meaning the one who retrieved the ruby and brought it back would be the next king. This puts these murderous brothers on the same path as Tristan and Yvain. To add another wrinkle in Tristan's quest, there is a trio of ancient witches after Yvain as well. The leader, Lamia, is played by the still gorgeous Michelle Pfeiffer. The witches plan on consuming Yvain to gain her youth and beauty, which will greatly extend their lives and enhance their magical powers. Tristan does something pretty horrible when he first finds Yvain. He expected to find a rock that he would simply carry back to Victoria. When he learns that the star is actually a person, for lack of a better term, he ties her up with a magical chain and takes her prisoner. During their travels, he must seek refuge, and him and Yvain stay at an inn that was magically conjured by the witches. The two are almost killed when the eldest of the brothers, Primus, played by Jason Fleming, actually saves their lives, and in this moment, Primus doesn't seem like that bad of a guy. Lamia kills him for his trouble. One of the most bizarre twists and casting choices that I absolutely love is when Tristan and Yvain are taken in by a band of sky pirates. These pirates go around chasing storms and capturing lightning. The scenes are really cool visually. There's a lot of character growth with all the pirate-centric stuff, and Tristan and Yvain, who, this is barely a spoiler at this point, end up falling for each other. I mean, come on, it's a fairy tale and the movie's, 18 years old? The leader of these pirates is a man called Captain Shakespeare, played by Robert De Niro. He goes way against his tough guy type. He does play a tough guy in front of his men, but behind closed doors, he is openly gay and very flamboyant. He thinks that he's hiding his sexuality from his crew with his tough exterior, but when it comes out, they all know. They don't care. They just like who Shakespeare is a person. It's a really great moment all around. Having Robert De Niro take on that kind of role is even more of a departure than his role in Meet the Parents. The climax of the movie finds every remaining character at the castle belonging to the witches. Most of the 7 brothers are dead at this point, and their ghosts look on and trash talk the living, providing a colorful commentary and used for comedy. Septimus, the final remaining brother, is killed by the witches. This leaves Tristan as the heir to the kingdom. Lamia and Tristan end up in a final showdown, fighting for Yvain's fate. Yvain's powers are realized because of the love that blossoms between her and Tristan. She's able to save herself and Tristan by destroying Lamia with her celestial powers. The witches are dead, the 7 brothers are dead, Tristan and Yvain are in love, and the ruby is restored. Tristan earns his place ruling the kingdom through his adventure, but he's also technically the rightful heir, as Una, his mother who was enslaved, was the actual princess. The pieces all fall into place without it being a last-second change or something introduced late in the movie that would make it feel like Gaiman didn't really know how to end his story. Gaiman knows how to pace a story. Tristan moves on from Victoria and finds his true love. He's crowned King of Stormhold, Yvain his queen. The two live a long and fulfilling life before they ascend to the heavens and become stars together. Along with the incredible cast already mentioned, Rupert Everett, Ricky Gervais, and Henry Cavill all make appearances and need to be shouted out in this insanely well-casted movie. Henry Cavill and Ben Barnes were actually in the running for the role of Tristan when Charlie Cox won out. I love Henry Cavill, but Charlie Cox killed it in this role, and being the less physically intimidating person, I think it really fit the fairy tale kind of story. There is an underappreciated movie that Cavill does get the lead in, and I should probably do a video on it. It's called Immortals. It's visually amazing. When doing research to write this video, I saw that De Niro's role as the flamboyant Captain Shakespeare was expanded from what it was in the book because De Niro did such a great job and the comic relief helped the fun fantasy tone of the movie. Actually, a lot of things were expanded from the page to the screen. Generally in adaptations, it's the opposite. De Niro's role was expanded, as we just talked about. The ghostly brothers were brought in for more comic relief, when in the book they are much more serious. The romance is made more traditional for movie fans, but that fits so well with the fantasy fairy tale genre, and the action was also turned up to make it more exciting to watch. All good changes. Released in August of 2007 in the US and 2 months later in the UK, Stardust didn't exactly set the world on fire financially. It got some praise from critics and fantasy fans for the tone of the story, humor, and performances. Michelle Pfeiffer and Robert De Niro got extra attention for their incredible roles. It looks like the unclear marketing is what hurt the movie from actually finding its appropriate audience. It was marketed as a comedy adventure and a fairy tale, but not at the same time. It does technically fit into both of those niches, but this seems to have left the movie-going population confused as to who this was actually intended for. In time, Stardust did find its audience through word of mouth, making it a cult favorite. Many compare Stardust to The Princess Bride because of the tone, and I will say that the two would make a fantastic double feature. Check out this video next for more awesome pop culture coverage.